Labour's Deputy Leader, Harriet Harman, and welcome to the Campaign Show. Thanks very much for being with us, and I know you'll stay on to kind of respond to what our viewers have made of what you've had to say. Well, you've had your campaign launch today. You're pledging not to raise the rates of tax. You did that last time and broke the pledge.
Well, actually, we've brought in a new top rate of tax just in April the 1st. So we've kept the pledge not to increase income tax all right until this moment, about 4 weeks before an election.
Still a broken pledge.
Because of the economic circumstances, which are absolutely unprecedented. So I think, you know, people will recognise that we did stick to it. And just 4 weeks before an election, we've said just for income on over £150,000, there should be a new 50p tax rate, because people who've done best over the last few years should have got the broadest shoulders to pay most to help us narrow the deficit.
Sure, let's leave that argument to one side. It's about trust and politicians. And you said to the British people, we won't raise the top rate of tax. You have. You're now saying we won't change the tax rates again. Why should anyone believe you?
Because we didn't throughout that whole Parliament. We didn't, and just before,
of course, but it's meant to be for the lifetime of a Parliament, and, and anyone, you know, the new tax code came in last week, and it has changed.
And for people on over 150,000, and also when we did need to raise revenue to put extra money into the health service, we didn't change the basic rate of tax. We used national insurance instead. So,
wouldn't a more honest approach be to say, well, given everything, unless there are unusual circumstances, then we'll do our best to keep these tax rates? Because, you know, that's what your justification is. Something extraordinary happened. Something extraordinary could happen again.
Well, no, we've actually said what our intention is, and we've also said the most important thing is to make sure the economy keeps on growing. That's the most fundamental thing.
Of course.
And, you know, I know that, you know, that some of the commentators have said there's no, you know, where's the new ideas? I mean, the really big, important idea for public services, but for the economy as a whole, is absolutely making sure that we secure the recovery, that we make sure the economy keeps growing, that businesses can start expanding, that unemployment continues to fall. I mean, we've just had a huge global economic crisis, and we've got to take the country through it, and we've got to protect and improve public services. So this is a very extraordinary time to be having a general election.
I'm going to bring these guys in a minute. I just want to follow up on that. So you're able to make the pledge on income tax, but not able to make the pledge on VAT. Why?
Well, I think what we're saying about VAT is when we faced a choice of needing to raise revenue in order to deal with the public finances after this recession, we have not chosen to increase VAT. We've chosen, and it's been controversial, we've chosen to increase national insurance.
If one is a pledge and the other isn't,
no, you can
only reach one conclusion.
Now, you heard the Prime Minister say that we know how we can halve the deficit over 4 years. It does include putting up national insurance, not now, but in a year's time, and that our plans are all costed. We can halve the deficit over 4 years. We don't need to raise VAT.
Harriet, though, just to absolutely clarify...
We cut VAT, actually, 2%.
You're saying, and then you put it back up again, you're saying you have no plans, I understand that, to increase VAT, but you don't rule out... in certain circumstances, it might have to go up. It will remain an option if Labour is re-elected.
Well, every single budget, the Chancellor has all the options except income tax before the Chancellor. But if you look at the record on VAT, our record has been not only have we never put it up because we worry about the fact that pensioners have to pay it and it hits at people on low incomes who don't pay tax.
Because then you could absolutely rule it out. It will be in your manifesto ruling it out.
Well, no, because aside from income tax, we don't go into all the different taxes and lay out all the different choices in advance, because the Chancellor has to have that discretion. But look at what the Tories did. They doubled VAT. So this is what we'd be saying to people.
Hang on,
look at what the Tories
manifesto.
did.
We'll have the Tories.
Well, they doubled
VAT. Well, hang on, we'll talk about the Tories when they're on. There is a logical inconsistency that you can rule out all income tax rates, that you're not going to touch them, but you can't say anything about VAT.
Well, no, we're taking away that flexibility from future budgets on income tax, but on others, we're saying obviously you have to do it budget by budget, but we're saying, look, we've said how we can halve the deficit over a 4-year period, and we've done all our sums, and we don't need to increase VAT. But actually, the Tories have said they wouldn't do the national insurance increase, and therefore we think there's a very big risk, since they love VAT anyway, that they would increase VAT. So that's the choice.
You talk about the deficit a lot, but isn't it the case that your plans involve increasing the national debt hugely by about 50% over the next Parliament if you're re-elected.
Well, I don't know whether they do that, but I think what we're saying is that between now and next year, we've got to continue to support the economy to get growth in. And what Lord Mandelson quite rightly says is that the best antidote to debt is growth. If we can have unemployment going down, if we can have more people shopping, if we can have businesses expanding and paying corporation tax, that growth is the most important thing to deal with the debt.
It's going to
well,
go
it does go down if people start paying taxes because there are more of them in work and there's less unemployment.
You're going to put us up by something like 450 billion you're going to add to the national debt of this country. Isn't that rather important information you should be telling people about?
No, the information we're telling people about is that we're going to halve the deficit over the 4-year period.
You like to confuse it with the word debt to give the impression it's going down.
Can we just bring in a specific? Royal Mail. What's happening there?
Well, we're proceeding to ensure that we have a guaranteed service, which we've legislated for.
Is we're committed to off the agenda.
Well, we've said that the economic circumstances were not such that there was a favourable market for finding a buyer. Obviously, you know, we have to keep these things under review. We want to make sure we can continue with the pension liabilities.
What is the manifesto pledge
on that? I'm not sure about the actual detail of that. We're certainly going to keep the 6-day service. We're going to keep the post office network.
It's just that I interviewed Alan Johnson at lunchtime, and he said it is going to remain state-owned. And as I was interviewing him on the television...
Yes, well, that's exactly right. Yeah. That was always the case.
Yeah, and as I was interviewing him on the 1 o'clock news, Peter Mandelson was on The World at 1, where he was saying that we have pledged to keep Royal Mail in the public sector, and we think that's very, very important. But he said at the same time, he was saying that the partial privatisation was still... isn't ruled out. I just don't. No,
what we put
just
in
want to be clear.
No, there's not an inconsistency between those two positions, because we said when we brought forward the act, the bill, which we didn't take through because the market conditions meant that we weren't going to be able to do that flotation, that a minimum amount would be raised from the private sector, but it would remain wholly majority in the public sector. I thought you were asking me about postal services, and what people are concerned about is there should be a guarantee of 6-day services and that it should work as part of the public sector in the public interest. But actually...
No, it's going to change the subject. Can we do that?
Yeah, do.
I'm interested as to if you think Gordon Brown is an asset or a liability for you. And the acid test of this is if you intend to put his face on your personal re-election literature in your constituency.
Well, I'm afraid my personal literature for many years now has been full up with my own face and the very good local candidates for the council in Southwark. So, but there's no doubt. No, but there's no doubt that Gordon Brown is an asset, because he has got not only the values and the experience, but the commitment to take the country.
Ratings in Europe.
No, you see, when you said why isn't he talking about the past? He's only talking about the future.
Because he completely screwed up the past.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. When you look at that hospital that we were in today, the health service has been massively improved. Now, but he doesn't want to say vote on what we've done in the past. He says vote on what we're going to do in the future and what the country needs in the future.
And he's saddled us with billions and billions of pounds in debt.
He has not bankrupted. That is nonsense. He has not bankrupted the country, and in fact, people are better off and there's more jobs there. But we know there's more to do for the future.
There are fewer British-born people in work now. 99% of his new jobs went to people born overseas. Isn't that right?
Well, I think there's a lot of flow of migration in and out of the country, but the most important thing is that
we imported jobs, we didn't create them. That's a crucial distinction.
No, we did create jobs. We did create jobs, both in the private and the public sector. And, you know, I think that when you look at the situation as it was, before Gordon Brown was Chancellor and before Tony Blair was Prime Minister, we had no minimum wage. People were earning often less than £1.60 an hour. We had 2-year hospital waiting lists. I think Gordon could spend a lot of time talking about how great he was as a Chancellor, but people want to look to the future and know that it's going to be prosperous and fair. So that's why he's choosing to talk about it.
Let's talk a bit about both,